Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday service of Now Creations. Let me begin by saying that it's just nice to be with you. Of course, we'll share some announcements and some teachings, but more than anything else, it's just nice to be with you. That presence within us is just always the most important thing, and it's nice to connect heart to heart. A few announcements. Tonight we'll be having our open forum from 6 to 7:30 p.m. If you just went to our website, clicked on Study Groups, scroll down to Open Forum, click on the Zoom Classroom box on the right. If you need an entrance code, it's 0118. Please try to join us. Patty Nikino will be our testimonial speaker this evening. I'd also like to mention that on Thanksgiving, we will be doing a service from 10 to 11 o'clock on Thanksgiving Day. You get an email 2 days before with the link and also some statements that I'd like to ask you to download and have them readily available for yourself. One last acknowledgement. As we move into some difficult months with the COVID-19, I just ask that you become vigilant for yourself and for others, vigilant, helpful, wherever you can be, helpful, but please do not be fearful. Know that the power within you is always greater than any problem you or I will ever face. With that in mind, let me now proceed to today's teaching. It really does continue to be a great joy to greet you in these weekly teachings, primarily because of you. Each of you, I believe, is stepping up to be the wonderful soul that you really are. I believe that you and I are stepping up to our own authenticities. You are stepping up into truly being your real self, for you're the only one that really knows whether you're really real or not. And your stepping up is noticed by others, whether you notice it or not. Your being a difference has been quite helpful in the lives of others. It is this difference in you that is the topic of today's teaching, entitled Wholly Ready to Follow. Wholly Ready to Follow. Let's begin. Today's teaching began in our Course in Miracles class 2 weeks ago. In that teaching, Jesus addressed an issue he had with the apostles in these words. Jesus said, "As you read the teaching of the apostles, remember that I myself told them that there was much that they would understand later, because they were not wholly ready to follow me at the time." Let me just repeat this. In the Course in Miracles, Jesus says, "As you read the teachings of the apostles, remember that I myself told them that there was much they would understand later, because they were not wholly ready to follow me at the time." Let's now fast forward the words of Jesus to the present moment in our lives. You and I are now beginning to become much more aware that we truly have that spiritual presence at the very center of ourself. We've come a long way, and we have moved beyond seeing ourselves simply as a limited human being to really seeing ourselves as eternal souls. We really are spiritual beings who are creating our realities here on the earth plane. The question that now faces us is the following. Are we wholly ready to follow the God Spirit in our lives? It's a good question. Are we wholly ready to follow the God Spirit in our lives? As an answer to this question, may I offer the following two considerations. First, I would like to address some lingering obstacles to being wholly ready to follow, and then proceed to be able to explain, hopefully, our willingness to truly follow. First, some lingering obstacles. There are two of them. The first one is that we have to get over much of our past training. We have to get over much of our past training. Let me explain. Probably you, like me, was brought up to try to find our place in society. Where do you fit in to the world? Ever since we were probably little kids, someone would ask us, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we would say something like a teacher, a nurse, a policeman, or a professional athlete. The point was that our focus was always out there. Somewhere out there, that's where you were supposed to fit into. For the apostles, most of the out there was being fishermen or farmers, or one out there was a tax collector. For us, it is quite different today, but the emphasis is still out there. In today's society, we would probably call it the American dream, or making your mark in society. But then, somewhere along the way, just as Jesus appeared to the apostles with a different message, someone, or a group of someones, but most of all, you appeared to yourself. You appeared to yourself, and you said, the beauty of life does not begin out there. The beauty of life begins in here. The beauty of life begins within myself. Well, of course, you rested with this inner vision for quite some time, probably for years. But instead of it being a passing thought, it became a growing truth. You knew that the truth was within you. And little by little, it wasn't so much that you began to change, but rather you had to change. You had to change. Something was going on within you. You just knew that that truer truth was within you. And you have made many changes to harbor that truth. The second obstacle. The second obstacle was the lifelong habits that you accrued in your life, especially as you and I were trying to achieve that American dream out there. You developed, as did I, a way of dealing with the world and with people from this limited worldly vision, from the worldly wisdom of the human collective consciousness. This worldly wisdom had a lot to do with your external understanding of life. It had to do with external success or external show. It had a lot to do with, well, seeing yourself comparatively, or maybe even seeing yourself competitively, of kind of seeing yourself, well, maybe a little better than others, a little smarter than others, having maybe a little more money than others, maybe having a higher regard in the society than others. And then all of a sudden, these egoic tendencies began to feel exactly what they were, egoic tendencies. it became an embarrassment to yourself. It became an embarrassment to yourself that you saw yourself so comparatively. Oh yes, many of your family and friends saw themselves in this me first, in I'm better than you mode. But for you, it just didn't fit anymore. An equality with others, a oneness with others, and a compassion for others began to set in. While you still associated with people who didn't see it this way, you did. You did, and still do. Sure, the old habit, the old obstacles, somewhere along the way, they just had to go because there was a new something that had begun to set in within you. Somehow, there was more of you that wanted to follow your inner spirit than what was out there. Although you weren't quite sure where it would lead you, you were quite sure that that's what you wanted to wholly do. This has now brought you to the present moment. You have been preparing for this present moment for quite some time. And I believe that you and I, together, are now ready to fully, wholly follow our spirit. Let's talk about this. This decision to wholly follow your God self demands time and attention. It's easier to be kind of wholly committed, but you know that this is no longer an option for you. Even though there are others who are still playing this kind of committed game, this is no longer our game. We want to be wholly committed. We want to follow the God voice within. And yet, Jesus saying these words, I am wholly committed to following my God Spirit. And you now saying those words, I am wholly committed to following my God Spirit, might cause you to take a breath and say, well, am I really ready to do this? To be wholly committed. It's so very important to keep on asking yourself, am I wholly committed to following my God Spirit? And as we do, we sometimes will need some help, some reassurance. Fortunately, this help has arrived in 3 ways. The first way, you clearly understand that you have undertaken the education of your soul, the real you. I'll say this again. You clearly understand that you are undertaking the education of your soul. You have studied for many, many years. You've lived in the world for many, many years. And you have come to the clear vision that there is a better way, namely the way of following your soul awareness. And you have clear evidence of this better way, such as, number 1, every time every time you act from your inner guidance, things always, always, always work out for the best. It works every time you have educated your soul to this fact. Secondly, additionally, it feels right. You know that you are doing the right thing. You have progressed with assurance and confidence. You have educated your soul to this fact. Thirdly, it seems that when you act this way, you have a greater impact on the lives of others. It seems like your showing up this way has bettered the lives of others. And maybe you haven't quite noticed the difference, but they have. The difference it is making in their lives because you have educated your soul. And then, when the day comes when you will leave your body and the world and all of its toys, you realize that the only thing you will take with you is the self that you have become. And you are increasingly happier of the self you have become because you have educated your soul. The second factor. You have not only educated your soul to its present growth, but you have also educated yourself that to continue this growth, you must have a strong daily spiritual practice that you are beginning to enjoy because you're beginning to see that this spiritual practice nourishes you. It not only feels right, it not only feels good, but you are nourishing yourself. You are feeding yourself. And as you do this daily practice, you're beginning to step into the presence. What is the presence? It is that all the time knowing that you are participating in an energy that is much bigger than you, but it includes you as a vital participant. That's the presence. It's a knowing. I know this. I feel it. That I'm participating in a much, much, much larger energy. And I am a vital member of this energy. This all the time presence probably has been a surprise to you. And what's really surprising is it doesn't ebb and flow anymore. It's always on the on position. You no longer show up in the world as your old personality self, but as the bigger you. And you know, when you show up in the world as the bigger you show up so much more intelligently, so much more creatively, and most of all, you really show up with so much more kindness and goodness. You've changed. You've changed. You're different, and you know it. You are ascending. You are ascending. Again, this probably is surprising even to you. But are you not the one who really does know this? Because more and more you are wholly committed. And you're not only happy, to be in this all the time light, but you begin to realize that this light, this bringing of this light into the world, are you sitting down? Bringing this light into the world has now become your purpose in life. It's become your purpose in life. You bring this light wherever you are because you cannot not be this light. It's what you become. You want to love everyone. What a gift. And now you begin to see that many of the things that you thought were important and worked so hard for are truly of lesser importance. You are much happier about creating your light, to model your light. Happy to evolve others by sharing your light. And happy, finally, that you are beginning to act in such a way that you've always wanted to be. That you become really real. You know what you're doing. You're becoming more and more wholly committed, aka heaven on earth. There's one more thing. Yes, you have educated your soul. Yes, you are sustaining your soul with daily spiritual practice. But now, you are adding a third thing, which you have always known, but now are beginning to know in a new way. You are joining with other like-minded souls, but in this way. And let's take a good look at it. It's one thing to say, well, I belong to a study group. But it's quite another to say, I have spiritual friends. I have spiritual friends. This is what is occurring with so many of us. We have spiritual friends. It's not a study group anymore. It's a group of spiritual friendship. And we clearly understand that the essence of this friendship is the common universal spirit that is at the center of each one of us. This knowing that we have a common spiritual center is quite a revelation that we cherish. While we know that each one of us individually is creating at the soul level, we also know quite well that each one of us is in the spirit of oneness at our deeper spiritual level. For years, we have heard about the one and the many, and now we know what it means. There are many of us in soul expressions, but only one of us in spirit. This bonding has two very beautiful results. The first one, see if this is not true, it makes you want to gather together in our groups. We don't want to miss a single meeting. And we do want to share what we have in common. Such support is expressed well in these words. When one of us speaks, all of us listen. And secondly, the oneness we feel with our spiritual friends is now being understood, but also felt. Now here's the fun. It's also being understood and felt with our family, our friends, and all others. Once we see what we are capable of in a group, we now begin to see that we are capable of with being able to share with everyone. Being wholly committed within and within a group has enabled us to be wholly committed to everyone. This is quite a sight to behold. In conclusion, may I sum up this teaching on being wholly ready to follow in these words. You are now believing in yourself. You are now believing in yourself. And because you believe in yourself, you have come to know who you really are wholly following. Who you really are wholly following is yourself. That's why you are wholly ready to do so. Let me say it again. Who you are really following, who you are really committed to, is the self that you are. That's why you're wholly ready to follow yourself. Who else will you follow? Let me now take you into meditation, and what a joy it is to do so. Let's begin our meditation as we normally do by just simply taking a moment to focus in on the breath, just feeling that presence within us, just breathing in and breathing out, and just be able to feel that sense of the presence coming, settling your body, settling your mind, and bringing your soul to the fore. Let's begin. Let's begin with a simple analysis of two statements. If someone says to you, you should do this. Well, maybe you will, maybe you won't. But if you say to yourself, I think I ought to do this, you're much more inclined to follow yourself. And may I suggest that this is what you have done. You are able to follow yourself because, number one, you have educated your soul. You have educated your soul. You've worked at this, not just for a year or two, but for several years. But you have educated your soul. You're smart. You know who you are. You are an eternal soul, fully conscious. Oh yes, you have a mind, you have emotions, you have a body, but who you are is a fully conscious soul. You're smart. You're intelligent. You are clearly seeing who you are. Number 2, you are smart enough to know first a caution, but then perhaps maybe you still don't know the surprise in store for you. First, the caution. You know that you have to daily nourish yourself. Daily nourish yourself. You might be surprised to know that it's becoming fun. It's just where you seem to most be who you are, that fully conscious soul. And the caution, of course, is if you don't daily nourish yourself, still easy to get lost in the dramas of life out there. Out there, rather than in here. You're smart, and you know what you have to do. That was the caution. Here's the surprise. Being fully conscious within is an ever-expanding adventure. I'll say it again. Being fully conscious within is an ever-expanding adventure. As far along as you have come, trust me. Tip of the iceberg, maybe only scratching the surface. So much more. You should be excited. And now that third thing. Forming spiritual friendships. This is a new thing for most of us. We're so used to being tied simply into our own selves, what we're doing, that we don't always recognize what another might be doing, and that we are connected to all others. It's taken us a long time to come to this knowing. That at the center of us is a oneness with each other. It takes a while to get over your personality self and to move into your soul self, wherein you have spiritual friendships. Would you acknowledge this progress for yourself? We are especially able to see this spiritual friendship growing in our Now Creation study groups. So many times people will simply say, I don't want to miss a meeting. The energy is unlike any other energy at these meetings. I don't want to miss. This is clearly apparent in our weekend enrichment programs on Friday and Saturday evening. We started with about 15 to 18, and now it's usually 22, 23 to 26, 27. I don't like to miss, because this is where spiritual energy is, and I share it with my friends. This is much more real than what is out there. A football game, a movie, a meal at a restaurant. Nothing wrong, just not of the same energy. You have educated your soul. You take the time to do the work. And you are enjoying spiritual friendships. I'll say it again. You've come to believe in yourself. You're the only one you're really going to follow. You now are doing so. So when the word Namaste comes in the song that will follow, would you say it to yourself? If you haven't already, place your hand on your heart.
the light shines bright to illumine love without, love within. I honor thee, I honor thee. Namaste, I honor thee, I honor thee, I honor thee. Namaste, I honor thee. When you are where you need to be, within that space, I honor thee. Seen through eyes, an illusion, seen through spirit, we are one. I honor thee, I honor thee, I honor thee. Namaste, I honor thee, I honor thee, I honor thee, I honor thee. Namaste, I honor thee. Namaste, I honor thee.
You can't help but smile. May you be wholly committed to follow that lovely soul that you have come to know as yourself. Namaste, dear one. Namaste, dear ones. Namaste.